We will not be silent. We will not obey. We will not allow our government to destroy our humanity. We are the final American Revolution. See you next Independence Day.
Now, the footage that you saw there was uploaded by Adam Kokesh. It shows him in Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C., loading a shotgun in front of government buildings. Yeah, and he chose to upload that. That was his choice. I think firmly cementing him that when you think of the term gun nut, Adam Kokesh should probably leap into your mind. The interesting first comment that has to be made on this is that, of course, it is illegal to walk around in Washington, D.C. with a gun, particularly one that's loaded, and we have found out that the U.S. Park Police and D.C. Police are investigating the incident and that they say that the video does appear to have been taken in Freedom Plaza. So we're going to actually round back to that in a little bit. It's going to have an interesting consequence for him. But the first question is, he's obviously trying to make a statement, the fact that he's uploading it on July 4th, that he's out there loading the gun. But why is he loading the gun? He's not just holding the gun. Like, you load the gun immediately prior to having to use it in some way. But he's clearly not going to do that. It's just supposed to be this sort of empty, like, badass gesture, like, oh, that looks kind of cool. Like, what it makes me think of is any movie or show where someone's, like, watching someone across the street, and then a bus goes by and the person's gone, and it's supposed to be all mysterious, even though when you actually think about it, that means that that person must have run really fast to get out of the way before the bus was moved, which actually isn't quite as cool. Yeah, loading a gun on tape with no intention to actually use it is about as cool as that bus thing. And so you might have remembered that he was originally going to have a march on Washington on July 4th. He announced it, that he was going to get all these people with guns and they were going to march on the government buildings. That didn't actually happen when the DC police said, yeah, we're just going to arrest all of you because you can't have guns in DC. And so he went on a radio program and he was like, yeah, you guys can still do it, but I'm not going to do it so much. His plan then went to, he was going to lead an army of secessionist rallies at state capitals around the country. Now, there have been a couple of protests, but they've had very lackluster attendance and that sort of thing. And I don't know that he actually went to any of them, so he abandoned his group yet again. But here he is making the video saying that he's going to see you next Independence Day, which, again, is not a particularly badass gesture, saying, like, look at me, all ominous, I'll see you in a year. Anything could happen in a year. One thing that's probably going to happen that year, you're probably going to be arrested for having a gun in DC. So I wouldn't make any plans that stretch out more than a few days in the future, because the DC Parks Police might be knocking on your door pretty soon, Adam Kokesh. And look, so the reason I'm doing this video is obviously he's a knucklehead, he's a goofball, I want to make fun of him. But let's not forget that he has made clear that despite the fact that he makes these gestures and then backs off, violence is not out of the realm of possibility for him. Let's go back to a quote he gave a couple of months ago. He said, "Should one whole year from this July 4th pass while the crimes of this government are allowed to continue, we may have passed the point at which nonviolent revolution becomes impossible." And so there, like, the police have to take him seriously. He's got a gun in open. He says that nonviolent revolution could become impossible within the next year. And so he seems like a goofball, but sometimes the people that do crazy violent things look that way before the event happens. And so they should take this very seriously. I think that he's obviously a bit delusional. The fears that he has of the government are a bit delusional. Now, what's interesting is that he's been protesting since before all the NSA stuff came out. If he did it in response to that, I'd have a little bit more sympathy for him. But his tone hasn't changed from the actual revelations of government corruption and intrusion into our privacy. And so he loses a little bit of credit from me for that. But anyway, we're going to give you an update if he does get arrested. He's been arrested in the past for some of his protests, although in that case it had to do with marijuana, actually, oddly enough, where I have, again, a little bit more sympathy for him. But yeah, the next week is going to be very interesting for Adam Kokesh.